Hi, I'm Liberty, and this is take, 30 of the my response to this week's discussion of the course reading and documentary viewing at discussing the length of the treatment of Indigenous people in North America, so the US and Canada, and how that treatment meets international humanitarian definitions of genocide. And the definition is acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. So I'm from Bemidji, and Bemidji is surrounded by 3 different reservations. So this is a topic that is near and dear to me. And so I'd say I'd have some knowledge higher than the average person, but especially watching the Canary Effect documentary, it really brought a lot of awareness and a lot more information to my mind and to my awareness. But I think every US citizen should watch this documentary. But from responding to the first question, what specific policies does this refer to? So from the Canary Effect documentary, a scholar from the video discussed the scalp bounties that occurred in New England, California. So the Scalp Act of 1756, its purpose was to eradicate the so-called Indian problem, and that you don't have to really think that hard about it to see how that fits under the definition of genocide. It was to eradicate an Indian population, and it also the BBC News article of 751 unmarked graves at the it discussed the Indian Act of 1876, and that act kind of umbrellaed a lot of the horrific things that occurred to Native American people, like the residential schools. The Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative was to culturally assimilate Native American students and kind of westernize them. And the saying of all these boarding schools was to kill the Indian, save the man. And so they were wiped of, they weren't allowed to speak their native language. Their hair was cut. All of their culture was stripped away from them, and they were forced to learn westernized ways of thinking and were forced to forget who they are. And sometimes they'd be at these boarding schools for 10 years, and when they'd return home, they wouldn't even be able to communicate with their family members. And it's just the trauma and the stain that this has put on our country is something that every American should be aware of. And I think this is so important for educators to understand, because first of all, as educators, we teach history, and history should be the truth. And I think this is a very big part of US history, and it's just I'm after watching the Canary Effect documentary, I'm angry, and I think this is something that everyone, the truth and the history is something that every US citizen should be aware of, because we don't want to wash or whitewash the truth of what really